With the COVID-19 pandemic among us, many medical schools will probably be opting to do virtual medical school interviews this cycle. Although that is different than what I experienced as a medical school applicant, I'll be sharing what I would have done to prepare for medical school interviews this cycle and share some tips for you guys too. So let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel and thank you for clicking on this video. For those who may be new to my channel, my name is Terence and I'm a first year medical student. If you're new, make sure you subscribe and like these videos if you enjoy the video. I'll be putting out weekly videos just like this every single week, so make sure you come along for the journey. I want to definitely start off with saying that there are pros and there are cons to this virtual medical school interview and these Zoom medical school interviews. One of the major cons, and I'll start off with the cons first. One of the major cons is that you don't get to have that gratifying interview day and that interview experience. Interviewing for me was one of the best experiences I had during my application cycle, other than getting accepted, of course, and just being able to go to the school, vibe with the students, vibe with the faculty, meet your fellow interviewees and potentially your future classmates. I think that was one of the major downsides of not actually getting to experience it yourself. Hopefully schools will have a second look day where you can come in and staggered groups to be able to experience the school. But one of the biggest things that I used to determine whether I wanted to go to a school or not was that interview day. And it can be very skewed from your Zoom virtual experience. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. Another negative is because this is the first experience for you and the first experience for them with doing the Zoom interviews, it's very important to keep in mind that there will be some awkwardness. There probably will be some unorganization here and there. Hopefully, this could tell you a lot about the school too. If they're kind of unorganized with the whole process, it could kind of tell you how their, behind the scenes staff is. But if they're very organized, it might show you that this school is very prioritizes its applicants, it prioritizes its behind the scenes process. So this is something that you could take into account, and kind of a con that it probably will be a little bit awkward at times, and it probably will be unorganized from time to time. Moving along, I have two pros that I think are pretty important and will give you some advantages doing virtual interviews. The first one is that you get to do the interview from the comfort of your own home. And for me, somebody understanding, home field advantage, home court advantage, being able to be in the comfort of your own home, I think provides decreased stress levels. I think it will potentially help you feel more comfortable during your interview. I think having the interviewer on a screen, having a conversation with you versus being in person, I think it's a little bit less intimidating in that way. And like I said before, it's a little bit more awkward. You're kind of both trying it out for the first time. So there may be more of camaraderie on that end versus sitting down and doing a traditional interview style. The second thing is you get to save money traveling across the country. If you have to travel across the country for interview, traveling, getting hotels, food, and different accommodations like that, you'll save a lot of money doing the virtual interviews. That's one of the pros. Also one of the cons, because you won't get to see the school, but something to keep in mind for sure. So now let's talk about preparation. How should you prepare for these Zoom virtual interviews? Well, the easy answer is prepare for them like you would for a traditional interview. I did a video on traditional interviews, so you could go check that out. If schools somehow tried to pull off an MMI virtual interview, that sounds like it would be a crazy experience, but check out my MMI video as well if that is going to be the case for you. I talk about preparation in those videos, but I want to reiterate some key points here. First being, value yourself as an applicant. These people should not be the gatekeepers of your success, nor will they be. If you want to get into medical school, no matter how many times you try, you will get in. And it's all about just preparing and being your best self. So value yourself and value the skills that you have. And don't look at these people as gatekeepers to your success, because they're truly not. You're just there to share a story. With that being said, study your story, study your application, know what you're getting yourself into, go through practice questions. With regards to going through practice questions, take the time to practice out loud. A lot of times we go through practice questions and we're thinking in our head and we're not actually practicing out loud. And this is a perfect opportunity to record yourself and see what you look like to somebody else when it comes to an interview. Go through answers out loud and record yourself, and then self-analyze through those recordings. I think that those are some of the biggest things that I did, and it will help you as well. The next thing is go through mock interviews. When it comes to mock interviews, use the opportunity to meet with somebody in person, but even more importantly, try to do a mock interview over Zoom try to do a virtual one, so kind of see how it's like, see what the delays are like, see what the conversations are like. It's a little bit more awkward talking to somebody over Zoom. Sometimes you cut people off, sometimes they cut you off unintentionally, and it can be a little bit less fluid of a conversation. So pay attention to those things and keep those things in mind when you do your preparation and your practice. As far as executing the interview, make sure you have a quiet place, make sure that you have good Wi-Fi and a good connection. Like I said, practice this beforehand. Do a run through with a friend to make sure that everything is smooth, that you're smooth on your end, you're not too glitchy, and you find a good location to do this interview. You want to make sure it's quiet, free of distractions, and that you can zone in for that 30 to 45 minutes that you need to do. The next thing, as far as execution, it's a little bit of a small detail, but make sure that if you have a laptop and if you don't have like a webcam, that you have everything set up at eye level. Even if you have a phone, don't prop it up on something that's low where you're looking down at the interviewer or you're looking down. You want to make sure you have good posture and you're able to exude good body language. So keep it a little bit higher up. If you have to prop it up on something that's eye level, make sure that you do that, because I think it's one of the small little things, but looking down versus looking straight ahead makes a little bit of a difference as far as just how you posture yourself and how you present yourself. So I think having something that's eye level is one of those little small keys that may help you. And then this should go without being said, but make sure you dress the part. Although it is virtual interview, make sure that you still are in business formal attire and that you are dressing the part and you're still professional. It's easy to confuse, being on Zoom with being unprofessional or being a little bit more casual, but make sure you're still professional. Make sure you're still doing everything that you would do if you were meeting with somebody in person. And lastly, I'll just run through some additional tips and some things to consider. First thing being said is eye movement and eye contact. So since you are on Zoom, one of the things that came to my mind, and I even did this with somebody, I did a mock interview, Zoom interview with somebody, and they were looking down and off to the side. And although this was something that they were just naturally doing, they might have been thinking, it's easy to, as an interviewer, to think that you're reading off of something. It's easy to think that you're reading something that's scripted. So if you have to think, maybe think about looking straight ahead or asking them, can I get a second to think? Or, maybe looking slightly up, but I wouldn't look down, or just be wary of your eye movement. And this is something that you could ask somebody that you're doing a practice run through or a mock interview with to give you feedback on if they see it. The second thing is, it may be tempting to read off of something. It may be tempting to have something up on your screen, an answers or a summary or a script. Just don't do that. Be fluid with your conversation, prepare beforehand, and have minimal distractions as possible when going through this. Just trust yourself and trust your answers. Don't have a script. You shouldn't be scripted anyway. It should be a conversation. And it's really easy to tell if somebody's reading off of something or somebody's kind of distracted scrolling through their computer and they're not actually engaged in the conversation. Next, I'll mention that it may be harder to read the room. It may be harder to understand whether or not your interviewers are having a good time, whether or not they're enjoying the conversation, because it's virtual, because it's through Zoom. It may be a little bit more awkward, and it may be harder to judge whether or not you're doing a good job. This is maybe the case in the regular interview, the MMI, whatever the case may be, but it may be even harder through Zoom just because of the first time for them, first time for you, and the awkwardness. So what I would do is, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of how the conversation's flowing, keep that positive energy and don't let that psych yourself out, whether or not you're doing a good job or not. It may just be harder naturally to read the room and read the conversation and how everything is going. And to wrap things up, trust your abilities. You've prepared for this. You're watching this video. That means that you are really dedicated and you're really invested in doing a good job. So make sure you put in the work and you prepare, and you will get the fruits of your labor. It's all about just fitting in, sharing your story, and using this as an opportunity to not only get better as an interviewer or as an interviewee for the future, but also take in everything, learn about the school, understand that this is an opportunity for them to get to learn about you and you to get to learn about them. They want to see if this is a good fit for them. So just be your true personality and your true self, and I guarantee you the right school will come around when it comes around. So thank you again for watching. Thank you again for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, like the video if you enjoyed the video, share it with somebody who may need it for their Zoom interviews and their virtual interviews this cycle. Good luck to everybody out there in the application cycle. You got this, and let's get it.